What's up, people? My name is Visarix, and I'm finally getting around to learning the jungle after quite a bit of time. I was led to believe that the jungle role was a little bit, well, actually quite a bit different from other roles, but I'm finding there are a lot more similarities than differences. Still plays by the basic fundamentals of the game. So I place a ward on my bot side just to spot out any early game shenanigans, because I'm planning to start topside this game. And pretty much immediately I spot out the enemy jungler and the bot lane going for a bit of an invade. It turns out they were actually just placing vision on my blue buff to see where I was starting, but I kind of made the assumption that they were in there to steal camps. I also kind of made the assumption that the mid laner would be shadowing them for that, but it turns out she was just guarding her tower. I'm not super concerned with running into a Zoe at level 1. It's kind of something I can just walk out of. And I know that the Jace can't really cover all this by himself. He could spend his ward for it, but I don't actually expect him to do that. He's against a ranged top, so that's something he might... And also he is a ranged top, so... I'm not actually entirely sure how that dynamic goes. I do start with W on the enemy wolf camp, which might be a little risky. If anyone showed up, I would kind of aggro to them instead, since I don't have my Q to redirect it. I have tried an E start on Raptors previously, and that completed the camp about the same time as a W start would have. But since I hadn't tested it on wolf camp, I just kind of went with what I was sure would clear in a reasonable time. Getting better at letting the bleed finish off the camps. As far as I'm finding, it's kind of like having an extra auto attack or two go off on the camp as you're cutting away from it. So, leaving them at about the same health total and starting to kite away at around 300 health on the camps early game. Shyvana is clearing a little bit slower than I was expecting. I thought she would get here to contest me a little earlier. Maybe that takes a little bit more practice than I'm giving it credit for. Kind of just because Shyvana has the reputation of being a fast clearing champion. So at this point I end up getting 4 camps, and I see her going for a bit of gank on the mid lane, and I try to shadow it to see if I can counter gank. Probably not entirely the best decision. I maybe should have just sequenced my camps. But then I go back to red buff and see her pathing down bottom on the minions in mid lane because of the vision they give. Probably could have angled that blast plant a little better and maybe gotten the drop on her, or just gone around the blue buff entirely. It's pretty obvious what she's wanting to do. You know, I took her camps, so she wants to take mine. I think I could have angled that E better and maybe hit her into the wall, but do end up getting her flash. And then Aurora gets back from base, and we notice the Zoe up quite far. So Zoe actually doesn't have flash, but I'm not aware of that in the game, so that sequence there could have been played a little bit better. I should have buffered the Q and then flashed into range for it, and that way she wouldn't have been able to escape, because if we both flash, Zoe has her W to pick up my flash, and then I'm the one that's down to flash, essentially. So the Aurora does invade and chase the Shyvana off her respawning wolves. And I do make a bit of a mistake here by pathing into her jungle. I think I was trying to catch her rotating back down bottom lane, but I should know that her raptors are not going to be up, where she did take them quite recently. So the other part of this is, since I invaded and she took her bottom side camps, everything in her jungle is, has already been sequenced. It's going to be respawning at a higher level. So I'm not actually sure how much of an advantage I get off of this initially, since all my camps are still level 1 and have yet to be sequenced. So really, right now my priority is kind of clearing as many of them as I can and getting them onto their second spawn so I can match what she's getting in experience from clearing her camps. Obviously, her stuff has already started to respawn, so it's going to be a little slower on my stuff. I probably should have gone to the second spawn of raptors there. Maybe they weren't quite up, but just kind of messing up the sequencing a little bit for my follow-up. I kind of make the assumption that she's going to go for the dragon here, given that, you know, Shyvanas tend to like to do that, so I do stay out on the map and try to equalize by going for the grub camp. And I put that ward over the wall to give me something to jump to in case I get collapsed on, but I end up using my Q pretty much off cooldown anyway, so I don't really know how useful that is. Take the skull crab as well since it spawned. And actually, it might have been the first spawn, I'm not entirely sure. Finally back at 7.5 minutes. I'm going for a bit of a different build this game. It's a little bit more of a squishy build, but has kind of a drain tank element. So the first item is Tiamat going into a Ravenous Hydra. So I noticed while I was doing grubs that I didn't have the notification that she had taken dragon, so I pathed directly to that. My bot lane is in position to help me take that, so I don't lose too much tempo off of it. And getting a quick gank here, and then I kind of end up wasting a lot of time here. Q and W are off cooldown, or on cooldown, so I should just path back into my jungle immediately after that. A bit of indecisiveness that I'm trying to weed out as I learn the role. And then get back to sequencing my camps once again. I'll just speed through that a little bit. And finally end up taking my first spawn of Krugs at level 1. And since my buffs are kind of out of sync with the rest of my camps, it's not really worth going all the way bot lane to just take my blue buff. Nothing else would be up down there, so I go in to the enemy jungle, get a little bit of a deep ward down. At this point I wasn't sure if the camps would be up or not, so it was mostly coming in here to get the ward. Gromp does spawn, so I take that away. And then the wolves are coming up shortly after. And I think my trinket also just came off cooldown for the second charge, so I placed one over the wall there. End up getting a bit of a chunk on the Shyvana. Don't manage to get the kill, but that's fine, don't want to overchase. So I end up falling back on the wolves here, and initially I was thinking that I had ended up taking too many turns here because I'd head to the grub camp after this. And Shyvana actually has time to base, refill her resources, and get back out onto the map. So I think what I should have done here is maybe taken my red buff first, and then look to contest the grubs afterwards. The Leona did ping that she was coming up. I think that was... I don't know if it shows it really... Oh, there it is. Yeah, so that was a little bit afterwards, after I started taking grubs. I assume she was a little closer than this. I guess she was pushing out the mid lane a little bit. So I do end up dying here and giving over 2 of the grubs, which really not what I want to do when I'm in a position of a lead. Would have been nice to get all 6 grubs and not get the return kill. I think I did have a shutdown. But another one of the things that I'm kind of trying to weed out. I end up going to my top camps here once I respawn because the dragon is actually... Well, I start to go towards my bot side camps and then change my mind. The dragon is actually coming up soon, so I want to get these taken so that while I'm down there, if Shyvana's on the opposite side of the map, she doesn't have this doesn't have these camps as a counter jungling option. Because otherwise, you know, if I'm taking the dragon, she could take my top side. And, you know, I'm not there to defend it. But if we're both fighting over the dragon, she can't really easily go into my bottom side unless she, you know, hard wins the fight there. I'm still waiting a couple seconds on my ult, but, yeah. her bot lane actually ends up backing off there, because initially they had pretty good setup here for being able to secure this dragon, but since they go to try and push in the lane here, I'm actually able to get onto the Shyvana and kill her before the rest of the team can get back from doing that. I do get chunked out quite a bit by the Zoe, but I do have the completed Ravenous Hydra at this point, and Briar has a lot of healing innately, so I'll take the blue buff and I'm essentially back at full health, which is pretty nice. It's a pretty good option to have, just being able to essentially do like a soft reset kind of thing when you're contesting objectives. You know, obviously I can't buy items while doing that, but I can restore pretty much all my health. Or in this case, my entire health bar. And this is the Chemtech Drake as well, so we're that's gonna help with it's gonna enhance the healing a lot, and I'm going for kind of a drain tank heavy build. Here I think this was a mistake going back to my Gromp. Shyvana had died, so that actually puts her a bit ahead in tempo for the next objective, which is the Rift Herald. So I do end up going for a bit of a gank here. I do eventually reset here. I should have done that a little bit quicker, but if you look here, Jace is not in lane. I think he might have just based earlier, but check Fog of War. Yeah, he's just returning from base. But he could have gone directly to the Rift Herald with Shyvana, and they would have been able to take this as a team, or as a duo, a lot quicker than Shyvana can take it alone. They made a change a little while ago to the Rift Herald where it, I guess it was at the start of the season, where it applies a debuff to whoever's tanking it, and that person does 50%, I think it's 50% less damage to it. Yep. Yeah, so it attacks me. Rift Herald, yeah, 50% less damage from whoever attacked it last. So if one person's tanking it, the other person's hitting it, then it gets taken significantly faster. I think that's just to discourage soloing it, which really is kind of the best practice for all objectives. When playing support, I usually try and tank the thing, but it's usually pretty hard. A lot of the junglers I'm playing with are melee anyway, so they don't really back up far enough for me to get close enough to the Rift Herald to take aggro, so either way. It does work out in our favor, but I want to get out of results-oriented thinking as much as possible. I think at this point, 16 minutes into the game, that's usually past the break point where I think I should be looking for more aggressive plays on the map rather than sequencing my own camps. I would have seen, like, based on when Shyvana died and when she made it to Rift Herald, I should have known that she didn't have time to sequence any of her camps. So I could have looked for those after she died. Look for a bit of a fight here. Managed to live on 90s. Oh. I think I was down to like 40 or 50 HP there. I think this is a replay bug. I wasn't actually revealed for that long of a duration. Somebody might have, yeah, somebody had ignited me previously, and it just still shows in the replay for some reason. So from their perspective, I ran away at like 1 HP and then came back at full HP, which is kind of what I'm itemizing for. That's a bit of what the build does. So I'm able to re-engage on the fight and get a sneak attack on the support and enemy junglers. Shyvana flew in a kind of a weird direction with my E there. I'm not sure what that interaction was. And I think I'm sitting on a lot of gold here, so yeah, 2,600. So definitely look to get it back in here. Next item is the Flicker Blade, which there is a bit of a bug with it. With Briar's W, it doesn't reset the cooldown unless you've already used the second part of it. But it does reset the other abilities before that, and if you do use the W2, then you can reset that as well. And kind of chain it together with itself. Let's see if I do it here. I don't think I do. Yeah, I think I wait a little bit for that anyway, but go for a bit of a fight here while the enemies are sieging the turret. I think I probably could have held my ult there and just gone for the W into Q and used my ult to get onto these guys. Ult gives bonus resistances, so definitely could have used it while tanking 3 people rather than just 1v1ing the Zoe. It is a pretty squishy build, but with the resets on W and the active from Hydra, you're able to drain tank quite a bit. Even if you don't have a lot of total health to work with. Go for the third dragon here. And you can see the W just resetting pretty much constantly. You're actually able to use the second activation before the first one runs out. So you're pretty much keeping the buff up currently. Or up constantly. Forbidden invade here. Able to hop over the wall from that ward that was there previously. Q this while it's in the bush so I don't aggro to the Shyvana when she gets in range. And once that's finished, just go for a quick kill. And do make a mistake coming up here. Initially I tried to E the Zoe into the wall. Then I go in with my W and Q, which my E is still on cooldown, so I can't de-aggro from them. Which is, pretty much how you end up hinting on Briar. And I waste my ult for good measure, The other thing I need to work on is getting better at using the Rift Herald. I've actually still got it in my inventory, and usually want to get that out of there as soon as possible so I can go back to using my trinket. I think it actually runs out of duration. Yeah, there it goes. Pretty much right as I spawn. So actually try to use it to get back into the fight quicker, but end up clipping the edge of the Nexus and it cancels the charge, which is a little annoying. So it just ends up split pushing bot for us. And here I end up taking my Raptors. I don't know if I think might be close to an item. I don't remember how much the difference is when you have all 3 components between that and Bloodthirster. I think what I should be doing is looking to contest enemy camps. Specifically, we had vision on the Raptors, and we saw Shyvana going to them. That would let me be close to mid lane while my Aurora here is pushing out the lane. And that way if a fight breaks out around there, I can reinforce from, over the wall or from out of this bush. Depending on where the enemies are coming from. So we do notice that the Shyvana and the Caitlyn are both bot lane, so we're able to start on the Baron here. I think Leona calls for this, and then, Briar is really good at taking Baron. She barely loses any health at all doing that, especially with this build. They just have so much lifesteal. Not a lot of base health and resistances, but the amount of lifesteal makes up for it. They changed Ravenous Hydra a while back, so it applies 1.5 times your lifesteal in an AoE. So it's kind of like a budget gore drinker, I guess. So that's why I'm stacking it with the Bloodthirster, because that'll give me 30% lifesteal, and then 1.5 times that, so 45% in AoE. Plus Briar's passive, when she's low, she gets enhanced healing. And we do have the Chemtech Drank as well, which for whatever reason does not tell you what it does, so maybe that's why junglers don't like taking it for some reason, or seemingly don't like it. Here I'm hunting for the Caitlyn. I think she might be in this bush, so I W, kind of equidistance from the bush and the Gromp. Champs take priority in terms of your W for what it'll latch onto. So since she's not in the bush, or since it latches onto Gromp, I know she's not in there. And then we spot her on this ward. She actually burns both summoners trying to escape, but since I have Navori, my abilities are up quick enough that we're able to chase her down and finish her off pretty quickly. She would have probably been dead either way, but she was pretty out of position. But having the cooldown resets really helps expedite the process there. I actually end up having a rare chance to hit the turret here as Briar, which is not usually what you end up doing. Briar doesn't really have great siege potential. It can easily end up turning into an accidental turret dive with your W. So usually what you'd end up doing instead is hanging back and taking side camp while your team sieges the turret. But we end up falling back to that afterwards. It was a 5v3 at that point, so we can kind of just walk up either way. They don't really have the numbers to contest us there. Just end up taking some camps here while waiting for the dragon to spawn. The other upside to having Navori is that you're able to use your W a lot more liberally for terrain scaling. Shyvana does come in to try and contest the soul contest us on the soul, but arrives basically like just a second too late, so we end up getting it. And I think this is basically the end of the game at this point. Yeah, I remember this. So, just proxying the wave here, and we're stopping the Zoe from being able to back while the team pushes in. They've got 4 other... Yeah, everyone else is dead, though Shyvana and Morgana are respawning pretty soon. But, 4v5 once Aurora rejoins them. They're not really going to be able to prevent anything. And since they're kind of disjointed, they end up giving over another kill or two, I think. I end up going for the kill on the Zoe, but I Q through the bubble. You end up getting the kill, and then the game is over. So if all my games could go that well, that would be pretty nice. End up getting every objective except for those 2 grubs, being up 80 CS and I think 5 levels. I'm pretty sure the Shyvana was level 11 at this point. Let's see if I can click on her. Yeah, she was level 11 to my level 16. I think a lot of this, though, was, kind of just a few coin flippy situations that aren't really something to rely on, so I don't really want to, try and coin flip in future games and hope for the same result here when I can try and make it more of a sure thing. Anyway, that's pretty much it.